Good afternoon. First, I would like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional territory of the Kwalindun First Nation and the Tahnquatchin Council. Before I proceed with an announcement of further economic support for Yukon businesses, I would like to speak directly to Yukoners as we head into the long weekend. Please do not become complacent this weekend. It looks like the weather will be nice, and I know that we are all itching to see our friends and family. But it's more important than ever to stay vigilant. Respect the orders to physically distance and avoid gatherings. Do not jeopardize the health and safety of Yukoners. Stay vigilant and stay healthy. Now to today's announcement. To Yukon business owners, I recognize the extremely difficult circumstances that you're facing today. Many Yukoners have lost their ability to earn a livelihood or lost significant portions of their income. And this is having a major impact on households across the territory. I want our business community to know that this government stands by you and we are working around the clock in an effort to support you. We will get through this together and rebuild a robust Yukon economy that supports healthy, vibrant communities. Our government is here for you. We stand by our business community and are working incredibly hard to establish real supports that will help you pay your bills. As economic programs and supports are available, we will continue to put information on yukon.ca. Thank you to everyone who has reached out to me directly, to my colleagues that have talked to, and the conversations with government employees, and for the hard work of our Business Advisory Council. I do want to thank Yukoners for all the conversations. And there's been many conversations with members of the private sector, some pretty intense conversations and very honest conversations, and truly appreciate all of the exchanges and the information you've provided. And I want to thank my colleague especially as well, Minister Dendies, for her work, supporting the tourism sector and ensuring that I am aware of the particular and unique challenges that that sector is going through. As this pandemic changes the way we live and it takes its toll on our economy, the Department of Economic Development has been meeting with stakeholders, assessing the state of local businesses, and developing initiatives to support Yukon's business community. So to date, the department has established the Business Advisory Council to monitor the impacts of COVID-19 and provide advice to the Department of Economic Development. We rolled out our paid sick leave rebate to allow Yukon workers without sick leave to stay at home if they are sick or required to self-isolate. We changed the terms of the Yukon nominee program criteria to address concerns around nominee status for those nominees who may experience layoff or reduced hours. We also rolled out the temporary support for events funding program to help businesses recover irretrievable costs from the cancellation of major events due to COVID-19. And we established the economic impact tracking mechanisms with the Department of Tourism and Culture and Industry organizations, including monthly sectoral surveys and bi-weekly industry calls. And these efforts are ongoing, and we are committed to bring forward more supports for our economy. As well, I've been in dialogue with labor leaders, and I do appreciate as well the insight, and we'll continue to work towards bringing labor leaders together to understand the challenges that they see and to gain their advice. Today, I'm announcing a new grant program for businesses called the Yukon Business Relief Program. We've heard about the challenges businesses are having paying fixed costs. This program will provide some urgently needed help under these challenging operating conditions. The Yukon Business Relief Program is for Yukon businesses that have experienced at least a 30% reduction in revenue as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. This $10 million program will cover specific fixed costs incurred for a 2-month period starting March 23rd, 2020, in order to provide immediate relief to businesses. March 23rd, 2020 is the date that the Yukon's Chief Medical Officer of Health first ordered a number of establishments to be closed. And these eligible fixed costs under the grant program, and I'll give some examples. This is commercial rent or lease, water, sewage, waste disposal, electricity and heating fuel, telephone, cable, internet, satellite, software, data services and subscriptions, business insurance, and pest control. Eligible Yukon businesses will receive between 75% and 100% off their fixed costs, up to a maximum of $30,000 per month. I would like to highlight that businesses ordered to close by Yukon's Chief Medical Officer of Health will receive 100% off their fixed costs, up to a monthly maximum of $30,000. And I also would just like to touch on the fact that for those in personal services that have impacted maybe some of the most of our business sector, and those in the hospitality sector, I've requested that our department prioritize as applications begin to come in, and to ensure that those sectors are supported as quickly as possible. I encourage businesses to apply for support for their eligible fixed costs incurred between March 1st and April 30th. Applications will be accepted until June 1st of this year. And as also I've mentioned before, we've established a one-window contact point for the Department of Economic Development. So again, please, we want people to reach out to us. Simply call 867-456-3803 and email. And I think there's some information here as well for those that are watching, or as well, ecdev, ecdev@gov.yk.ca to get started. The grant program is intended to help Yukon businesses stay afloat as measures to slow the spread of COVID-19 impact their ability to generate revenue. And I've heard directly from many Yukon businesses, including those in the personal services sector, that were ordered to close. Today is about bringing forward a program that responds to the many recommendations we have received from Yukon's business community. The Yukon Business Relief Program addresses key recommendations brought forward by the recently established Business Advisory Council, and as well, and I would like to thank again Mr. Dendies for her work with the Tourism Advisory Board, appointed to address the economic impacts of COVID-19 pandemic as well. I would like to thank them for the good work they have done and will continue to do as we navigate our way through this pandemic. Department staff are in regular contact with local organizations representing the interests of Yukon business community, including a broad range of stakeholders from all sectors. And there's also a significant amount of ongoing work with the Government of Canada to support our economy, and I wish to express my gratitude to them and for their continued efforts. Specifically, I just want to as well note Yukon Chamber of Mines as well as the other mine chambers across the north have communicated with Canada. And I had an opportunity this week to follow up on that with the Minister of Natural Resources, Minister O'Regan, and just and put our support behind that as well. Working with ministering of small business and putting forward our thoughts around the wage subsidy. Today's support program is one more way our government is supporting Yukoners during this very unsettling time. These efforts are ongoing, and we committed to bring forward more supports for our economy. With the addition of today's package, we anticipate spending as much now as $21 million to support Yukon workers and businesses. This is in addition to what the federal government is offering. We've also had very positive conversations with Canor, unprecedented communication and supports, and our MP, Larry Bagnall. And I want to also thank Minister Jolie, all of them making a tremendous amount of time as we try to figure out how to collaborate and look at Yukon's business community. So we do anticipate hearing more from the federal government as well about support for Yukon businesses in the days to come. I would like to conclude by saying a few words about how resilient Yukon business community is. We've seen businesses adjust and readjust to the changing nature of this pandemic. It is a real testament to how nimble and determined Yukoners are. So if you are in a position to do so, I encourage you to shop local now more than ever. Try a restaurant that is offering takeout. Check out the curbside delivery options by many retailers, or browse one of the new online shops that Yukoners have created. Shopping local has never mattered more, because when you shop local, you are directly supporting your fellow Yukoners and keeping those valuable dollars in our territory. Small businesses are the heart of our community and the backbone of our economy. We will emerge from this together to rebuild and focus our efforts on the future. I wish to commend Yukoners for heeding the recommendations of the Chief Medical Officer of Health. I've seen firsthand how seriously Yukoners are taking this. I recognize that it has been extremely challenging from an economic, social, and emotional perspective. This is the time to reach out to your family and friends, neighbors, but from a distance. Look out for one another and be kind to each other. Our resiliency as Yukoners is our strength. Thank you.
I'll go to the phone, starting with John from CKRW. John, can you have a question and a follow-up?
Hi, yeah. I'm interested to know if nonprofit organizations and nonprofit businesses are included or eligible to apply for the grant.
Thanks, John. Under this particular program, it's not directed towards nonprofit organizations. To date, I know that our particular government departments have continued to flow funds to nonprofits through their agreements that they have. And we also know that the federal government has extended their wage subsidy program, I believe, to nonprofits. So at this time, those are the measures that are in place, not to say that you will not hear more in the coming weeks.
Do you have a follow-up, John?
I'm interested in knowing what the application process will be like.
Sure. And I appreciate that question. So one of the things that we heard from the business community, I think it's important if we go back to March 23rd, and so we're looking at about 2.5 weeks since some people were directed to close. And in that period of time, what we've seen is, our departments pivot as quickly as they possibly can, and have worked very long hours to put together a program that can be as effective as possible. So one thing I will ask today is that we, working on this particular program, will need a few more days to be able to solidify the application process. I know that our team is working towards being able to accept applications and making best efforts for the week of March 20th. So we know we're going into this weekend and then a few more days next week to ensure we get this right. So I think that's really important to make sure that this process is something that's going to work well for the many, many potential applicants that we will have. And we're bringing on extra capacity from multiple departments to ensure that we can review the applications and process the applications as quickly as possible. So we're looking at an application that will, without getting too deep into it, that will request information on businesses' fixed costs that meet the criteria that we've identified here. And then that application will go through the professional staff at Yukon government to be analyzed, and then hopefully being able to provide payment within a few days of that process. So that's what we've seen, the time period we've seen with the paid sick leave. But we also, as I've said, on this particular program, we could have as many as up to 4,000 applications for this. So that's why we really needed the last 13 days to work on this, and over the weekend as well, to make sure, because it's just such a significant program. We haven't seen anything of this magnitude.
I'll go to John with the Yukon News.
Hi. My question is sort of, the release is a little bit vague. It just says sort of eligible businesses. Can you maybe clarify what businesses do qualify? For example, national companies or companies that operate in multiple jurisdictions, would they be eligible for support through this program?
Sure, John. What I'll do is I think it's best to, we'll maybe touch upon some of the categories. Would be the easiest way to do that. So to give you a sense, personal services, restaurants, retail, others ordered to close. Those are the industries that we are, and this is all the businesses, really that we've looked at in Yukon, and with some exclusions. But really, what we're that's sort of the area that we're looking at 100% coverage. We're also looking at business such as admin support, agriculture, construction, forestry, manufacturing, mining support services, quarrying, waste management, remediation services, and wholesale trade. And in those particular categories, we're looking at covering up to 75% off their costs. So really, most businesses in the Yukon are covered by this, and hopefully that'll give you a sense. So we're not, breaking it out whether it's a retailer that's also has a footprint across the country, or it's a standalone here. What you'll see, I think, which is really important to this is, we've capped it at $30,000 per month, and I mean that's really, we just want to ensure that our small and medium businesses in the Yukon understand that that's, it's truly focused towards towards them, and to ensure that we all understand how important they are within the complete dynamic of our economy.
Do you have a follow-up, John?
Yeah. So with the understanding that this is still seemingly very much a work in progress, with the deadline for applications being June 1st, people who apply early, sort of as soon as the forms are available, when would they be able to sort of expect money in their bank account?
John, maybe I'll just clarify. The June 4th, we're accepting applications until June 1st. So, and maybe that's what you said, but just to clarify here, what we're looking at is spending this weekend and a few days next week to finish tying up the application process, and getting ready to operationalize this. So not only, but just ensuring that we have the most efficient way to process applications, and then of course disperse payments. So we're looking, of course, that happening, on the sort of the finishing touches on the work over next week and the weekend, and then being able to accept applications, and then moving to process. So as I stated, some of the process that we've seen now, process times have been a few days, and we will do our absolute best to move this as absolute quickly as possible, understanding that the end of the month is coming as we get to this, and how important it is for individuals to to receive this money quickly. Today was, I take the advice of many people in the business community, tough conversations with people, because we've been working on this for the last 2 weeks and over the weekend, and people wanted to get a signal of what was, if we had anything coming. We felt confident that we had something that, this is the most comprehensive business relief program that I've seen in this country to date. I think that's important to understand. I'm speaking with all my colleagues across the country that are ministers of economic development and across the north. And this is something where, I think Nunavut has put something in a grant up to $5,000. And I know that Nova Scotia, I believe, has paid out 15% of a gross for 1 month, up to $5,000. So this is really substantial. But of course, again, wanted to make sure we got the information out. Really understanding that business people are under a tremendous amount of stress, anxiety, things that people have built for a long time are at risk. And so going into this weekend and Easter weekend, we wanted people to have that information, to know that there is something that's very substantial that's coming. And take that time next week to sit with your bookkeeper, or if you do your own books, and pull your numbers together and your fixed costs, and then get ready for us to be able to provide you with that application and get this thing moving, so we can get people shored up.
I'll go to Gabrielle with the White Horse Star.
Hi, I'm wondering if the amount of grant money businesses will receive is that directly related to the percentage of lost revenue, or the number of fixed costs that the businesses face?
It's fixed cost.
And do you have a follow-up, Gabrielle? Do you have a follow-up, Gabrielle?
Okay, my follow-up is, are there any limitations in funding for businesses who are also receiving federal funding, like through the wage subsidy program?
No, what we've tried to do is, and it is a day-to-day basis, is to analyze the programs that are coming from the federal government, and ensure that we don't, first of all, start to duplicate efforts, which is not the best use of energy. So continuing to have those discussions with the federal counterparts, and then trying to fill gaps. And what we've heard, you'll hear it across the country, and you'll hear it from region to region, that the wage subsidy, I think people are happy about the fact, of course, that wage subsidy has been increased to 75%. Their concern is, of course, timing. Others will have to contemplate using the loan program if they qualify. We've been working with our local bankers and BDC to ensure that the criteria for that is as flexible as possible. For individuals, whether they're entrepreneurs, the CERB program, which provides people with the funds for living expenses, is key. But for many businesses, they're in a position where they can't cover the rent, and they can't cover. They're waiting to maybe apply for the loan program, but they can't cover their electric bill. And this is something pretty aggressive that we've put together, and it's something that we feel other jurisdictions have handled this particular situation in their ways, and we feel that the most prudent thing to do is to get out now and to support. What the next 3, 4, 5 months look like, we don't know, but we think at this time this is the most appropriate thing to do.
Steve with CBC.
Hi, thank you. I have a question in regard to proof of that 30% reduction. What kind of proof will people have to provide to show that they have indeed lost 30% because of all this?
Steve, I think it's best to, I'll leave it to our team to define which documentation that businesses have to provide. I think it'll differ from business to business, depending on how they prepare their books and what their and how they identify their sales or revenues. So at this point, what we're looking to do is we're trying to be flexible. This is not about we didn't build a program here to exclude people. We built a program to support people. At the end of the day, you will have a criteria, and you want to stick to that. But our teams are there to work with local businesses and understand the pressure that they're under.
Do you have a follow-up, Steve?
Yes, please. So my other question would be, how many people do you expect to apply for this? And also, why provide this for business owners but not renters, to my knowledge so far?
Okay. Sorry. So I guess, sorry, if you could repeat your question one more time, Steve.
How many business owners do you expect to apply for this?
Yeah.
And why not extend this residential tenant, like for people just who are renting a home, for example?
Sure. Okay. So up to 4,000 applications. That's the possibility. So we've, over the last, 13 days, including the weekends, a few more, going back and forth and analyzing the statistical information that we have access to from Canada and from the Yukon. That was our sort of high watermark of how many applications we could have. We don't know that. I mean, some businesses, even in this very strenuous time, are still doing business, and in some cases had not have as much disruption as others. So we'll see, but it could be an extreme amount of applications. Again, this is really focused on the business sector, and so that's why we're covering the rent costs and the lease costs of people in the business sector. So I leave it to my other colleagues to bring information forward on what things look like on the residential side. I know Minister Stryker has been doing a tremendous amount of work on that file and working with landlords as well. I believe the Whitehorse Chamber of Commerce has a subcommittee that focuses on this aspect of our economy, and Minister Stryker's continue to do that work. And also, I should note, Minister Stryker has been a lead within our organization dealing with nonprofits, and they fall under some of the responsibility of community services, but also understanding the unique situation that they're in. And I know I'll leave it to him to share what that work looks like and what those conversations have been like.
Claudiane with Radio Canada.
It's okay. Thank you.
And Julien with Aurore Boreal. Julien? All right. Not hearing a question from him, we'll conclude here. Thank you very much.
Just want to, if we can, I just want to take the opportunity. I know there's been a lot of people within our public service that have worked on this from multiple departments. But I do want to take an opportunity to truly thank our team at Economic Development. Thank you. Thank you for all the work they've done. A lot of effort, a lot of late nights, a lot of time away, sacrificing from your children, and thank you for what you're doing for the Yukon and supporting our business community, to the business community. I know there's a long way to go, and I know there's a lot of work to be done still. I hope that this, we've heard you, have been listening to you all along. We have certain things that we have to complete to be able to bring a program like this out to the public. So thank you for being understanding. And I hope at the very least you can get a moment of peace over the weekend and be able to get ready to work with us coming next week on this new program. Thank you.